Morning everybody, my name is Noémie Poise from Rhonalpenergie Environment, which is the regional energy for environment and energy in Rhône-Alpes region. Rhône-Alpes region is located in the southeast part of France. We have no access to the Mediterranean Sea, but we are part of the MET program anyway. Because of the climate of some parts of the region which are Mediterranean. So in the Enerscapes project, we have implemented the activities in 4 pilot areas, which you can see on the map. These 4 pilot areas are very different, each one from the other. But what's common through these areas is the fact that they are all located in natural regional parks in rural zones. So we have Région de Condrieu, which is territory close to the Rhône River in the south of Lyon. We have Herriot-Serre, which is another rural area located in Ardèche, more in the southern parts of the region. Rozan, which is really at the south of the Rhône-Alpes regions, and Plateau de la Lesse, which is a mountainous area in the Alps. So I will mainly focus on the outcomes of the project on these 4 pilot areas before coming to capitalization. Just this slide to remember that even if we developed the common methodology of Enerscapes project, during the whole running of Enerscapes, we tried to start implementing the actions that we mentioned in the final action plan. That's why I will also present you the first results of this application through the realization of the first PV projects and the participatory process. So regarding the territorial analysis, which were done at the very beginning of Enerscapes project, the main outcomes that we can stress is the fact that through this analysis we could identify the main characteristics of the territory in terms of landscape, environment, and analyze the main criteria that play a role when we want to develop PV plants on this territory. So what's important is to say that all the maps and data that we collected during this analysis will be reused for the future RES projects on this precise territory. For instance, we made some maps to identify the main viewpoints on the territory, because according to the way that you can see the roofs, the PV plants will not have the same effect, visual impact in the landscape. So we have some what we call co-visibility maps just to represent the way the roofs can be seen from the different roads and paths. We also have included an analysis of the vegetation, of the historical areas. The village morphologies have been also analyzed because they play a role in the visual impact that we have, and also the land use maps that we have also already mentioned in the other partners' pilot areas. Regarding the scenarios which have been made on the basis of this territorial analysis, we've drawn different scenarios on each pilot area at 2 different scales. The first one was at a global scale to identify which were the possible settings of the PV plants in each territory. For instance, depending on the way, depending on the views we had on the villages or on the grounds, depending on the mountains, on the vegetation, we could decide together with the municipalities whether it was better to develop PV plants on this part of the village more than in other parts of the village. So this is a global scale approach to predefine where it is the best to develop PV plants according to landscape impact. And then we had another work at a building scale, which was more an architectural approach, meaning that we tried to working with experts to define principles of integration of PV plants in the roofs. This depends on the local architecture. It depends on the color of the tiles, on the slopes of the roofs, and analyzing all these criteria, we could define how PV plants had to be integrated in the roofs. We mainly worked on the roof. I didn't say it before, but we are not on the ground because we are located in nature regional parks with natural areas which are protected. So the development of PV plants is mainly located on the roofs. So these are some examples of the scenarios, architectural scenarios that we could develop on the different pilot areas. Regarding the participatory process, we had numerous public meetings which first brought some information to people, to citizens on RES and landscape. These public meetings also served to sensitize them about the energy global stakes, about climate change and sustainable developments. And then progressively the aim of these public meetings was to gather all the citizens and the municipalities in collective projects. And we really wanted to go very far in the participatory process because we want to make people participate directly in the funding and the realization of the plans. So the outcome today of this project is that we succeeded in making citizens agree to create local companies in which they take shares, and those companies will realize directly the PV plants on the villages where people live. So it is really a cooperative and local approach of the development of RES. So now in May 2013 we have achieved the creation of 2 local companies, and we have also achieved the creation of a local association which will become a local company soon. So this is achieved, and I think it's one of the major outcomes of Enerscapes project regarding the participatory approach. This is just to give you a few examples of the public meetings, the communication document we've issued during the project, and the, let's say, legal organization of the companies we plan to implement on the pilot areas. So the action plan mainly summarize all these actions, but it also makes some proposals which are mainly addressed to the public municipalities, for instance, regarding the landscape, the integration of RES plants in the landscapes. We encourage, through this action plan, municipalities to integrate the architectural principles in their local urban plans, which means that it will become an obligation for project designers to respect these principles of integration of PV plants in the roofs. An outcome consequence, let's say, of the work we did in Enerscapes is that today we also have the emergence of the first PV projects in the pilot areas. So I've just given you an example of what is being done today on the pilot area of Région Condrieu. This is the first cooperative project that will be soon realized, and which contains, I don't know, 10 or 12 buildings. It's public and private buildings, and PV plants will be developed on those roofs, which have been selected after the scenarios, the participatory process, and so on. And the plants will be realized by the local company in which citizens participate. Regarding capitalization, so for us it is a major objective because we precisely choose to work on several pilot areas to have more feedback and to cross the different methodologies to get more capitalization for future projects. So now, thanks to the territorial analysis, we have a clear overview of the methodology that can be used on a territory to assess the impact that photovoltaic plants can generate on the landscape. And this methodology will both serve for the existing pilot areas for future projects and for other territories, because now we're starting to disseminate this methodology on other territories. For the participatory process as well, we capitalized quite a lot of tools which have been used during the public meetings. These tools are different solutions to get people involved and to make them feel more concerned about renewable energies. So it's, for instance, the visits, polls, surveys, and so on that can be done during public meetings to make people feel more interested in the issue. Regarding dissemination, so we are working quite closely with the National Federation of Natural Regional Parks. We have already presented them the project, so now other natural regional parks in France are interested in our work, and we will probably progressively disseminate our tools to them. And regarding also the participatory approach, which is quite new in our country, we started to capitalize this work through the creation of a regional network of participative projects for renewable energy. So now we are starting to develop more let's say, more easily cooperative projects in our region regarding the production of renewable energy.